"Lynn, I'm dying. Come save me quickly." Kira's voice on the other end of the line was incredibly grim. I instantly tensed up. Kira was the sole successor of the geomancy master, and though she was a bit lazy, greedy, and full of tricks, her actual abilities were not to be underestimated. It seemed she'd truly encountered something serious this time. I quickly grabbed all my talismans and spiritual tools, even stuffing a bag full of charms. But when I rushed to our agreed meeting spot, I was stunned. "Director, this is my friend." Kira stood before a corpulent, bald, middle-aged man wearing thick black-rimmed glasses. He scrutinized me from head to toe, then nodded in satisfaction. "She looks decent enough. Choose her." Kira, eyes crinkling with a smile, pulled me over. She found a young woman wearing a staff ID badge and excitedly handed her phone over. "Sweetie, transfer the money." The woman immediately transferred 10,000 yuan to Kira. I was even more confused. Where were the zombies, the vengeful spirits? I brought all my spiritual tools for nothing. Kira carefully tucked her phone into her pocket after receiving the money, then let out a sigh of relief. After she led me on a tour around the set, I almost fainted from anger. It turned out that dying, to her, meant dying of hunger. This was a reality dating show. Just being selected as a female guest meant an 8,000 yuan appearance fee. Moreover, the show encouraged female guests to invite friends to participate. Once accepted, they'd receive an additional 2,000 yuan as a referral fee. And so, I was tricked into joining the show without a single penny and forced into dating. The show invited many women, ranging from 20 to over 30 years old. The 3 male guests were all promoted as tall, rich, and handsome. Rumor had it that one ran his own company, another was the heir of a wealthy conglomerate. The show's purpose was to help them find a dating partner among the female guests. According to the rules, I had to give a rose to one of the 3 male guests, then complete some simple tasks with him, such as cooking, flower arranging, or baking. During this process, the male guest would rate me. Finally, from the 3 highest-scoring women, he would choose one to date. After hearing the rules, I could only roll my eyes in silence. The Qing dynasty had fallen so many years ago, and we still had this archaic selection game. "Female guests, please choose your preferred male guest." The MC repeated it 3 times, but I remained standing on stage with my arms crossed. The atmosphere instantly turned awkward. There was no other way. The 3 male guests were all too handsome, making it difficult for the female guests to choose. The MC, resigned, continued introducing them. Guest number 1, Ethan, young and talented, a financial expert. He runs his own financial company. He's also a great cook, the ideal family man. I glanced at him. Ethan wasn't very tall, about 1.75 meters in his mid-20s. He wore gold-rimmed glasses, looking scholarly and refined. Noticing my gaze, he slightly pursed his lips and gave me a shy smile. I shook my head at the MC. She frowned slightly but patiently continued introducing. Guest number 2, Marcus, an entrepreneur who started from nothing. He now owns a large-scale trading company. He enjoys calligraphy and traditional painting, a true gentleman of letters. Marcus looked a little over 30, but was very well-maintained, tall and handsome, with particularly flirtatious eyes that always carried a hint of romance when he looked at someone. It was obvious he easily attracted women. I continued to shake my head. The MC shot me a meaningful glance. Guest number 3 isn't an ordinary man, you know. Henry, the young master of the hand family in the real estate industry. He graduated from Stanford University and inherited the family business upon his return, now serving as CEO of the Hand Group. I'd heard Kira mention that most of the girls on the show were targeting Henry. His looks and physique were like a supermodel's, and he was skilled in skiing, horseback riding, and fencing. The perfect image of a domineering CEO straight out of a novel. Seeing me look his way, Henry tossed his hair and confidently smiled, causing the entire hall to erupt in the girls' piercing screams. He's certainly attractive. I shook my head again. The MC's smile stiffened. "You mean you're not choosing any of the 3? Can you tell us why? All 3 male guests are so excellent. Is there really no one you like?" I looked at her with an unreadable expression. "Excellent where?" Henry slightly frowned, crossing his arms over his chest, his face clearly showing impatience. I immediately understood his gaze. He thought I was playing hard to get to attract his attention. HMPH, men and their inflated egos. Seeing my silence, the MC almost shoved the microphone into my face. "Guest number 1 is very good. Gentle, thoughtful, enjoys cooking and housework. Men like him are rare these days, very suitable for marriage. I let out a faint laugh, tilting my chin towards Ethan. Ethan may seem nice on the surface, but it's hard to know what's in his heart. You can't just judge by appearances. Guest number one's eyebrows are too close to his eyes, his forehead isn't smooth, he's clearly a gambling addict. His nasolabial folds are shallow, indicating a weak will. He won't stop until he's lost everything. He's 27 this year, isn't he? His fortune at 27 is linked to the hillocks and tombs region of the face. Look, these two areas on his face are flushed red. This signifies extreme misfortune. And he's starting a business? I'd say he's deep in debt, with losses of at least tens of millions. The MC was dumbfounded, her sharp face showing confusion for the first time. Hillocks and tombs? What are those? I pointed to my own brow bone, signaling everyone to look at Ethan. It's the area where the end of the eyebrow meets the hairline. This position also reflects the feng shui of one's ancestors' graves. Oh, it seems Ethan's gambling addiction is a family tradition. Everyone simultaneously turned to stare at Ethan. The MC unconsciously gasped. It's strange, not only is it red, but there's even a pimple there. Ethan, both embarrassed and enraged, his voice rising 8 octaves, shouted, "Lynn, what nonsense are you spewing? My grandfather was just an ordinary farmer. You can accuse me, but you can't slander my family. You must apologize for this today or else expect a lawsuit." The MC, a beautiful veteran of hundreds of shows, had never encountered a situation like this. She held the microphone, her eyes pleading with the director. The portly director stood by the camera, his small eyes sparkling with excitement. Dating shows were popping up everywhere. To boost ratings, many shows had prearranged scripts. They intentionally created conflicts, even physical altercations. But he never expected his show to encounter such a unique situation. I didn't expect it either. Tricked into this blind date by Kira, I was already annoyed, so I decided to go all out to get myself eliminated. Who knew I'd accidentally catch the eye of the plump director? He signaled something to the MC that I didn't understand. But the MC did. I didn't realize Miss Lynn knew how to read faces. Is it because their features aren't good that you didn't choose the 3 male guests? What about numbers 2 and 3? Are their features also problematic? It was clear she wanted to stir things up. Good, just what I wanted. Kira, standing beside me, kept winking at me until she almost had a seizure. I gave her a cold smile, determined to continue offending everyone to the core. Number 2, Mr. Marcus here, is very handsome. His middle-age fortune is good and his wealth flows well. Kira caught my eye, and her heart immediately felt half frozen. She quickly ran onto the stage, wedging herself between us, and snatched the microphone. The MC was stunned for a moment but quickly smiled. If I'm not mistaken, Kira is still a student, right? This Miss Lynn is her friend. Do both of you know how to read faces? Kira quickly explained, "Oh, it's just some books I bought from a street vendor, just for fun, completely inaccurate. I was wrong. A 1,000-year-old tradition never errs." The MC burst out laughing, pretending not to notice our hands secretly pinching each other. "If both of you know how to read faces, could you give your insights on guest number 2, Marcus?" Kira tried to mediate. "His fortune from 25 to 33 is extremely good. His career will soar, and his wealth will be abundant." I pushed away Kira's hand, which was trying to hold me back, and sneered, "He has 3 white eyes, indicating a cold and unfeeling nature. His love life is tinged with red." The MC blinked curiously. "Red like money stained with blood, isn't that also red?" Hearing this, Marcus couldn't hold back any longer. His face darkened, his voice filled with indignation. "Miss Lynn, what do you mean? Are you implying I'm a murderer?" Ethan laughed at his misfortune, saying, "I'm a gambling addict, a fraud, and now you're calling Marcus a killer. So what about number 3? What kind of lie are you going to make up next?" Henry shrugged, casually saying, "Just trying to get attention, how ridiculous, all for that 10,000 yuan. Kira gritted her teeth and nodded. "Yes, we made it up, everyone, don't believe us." Henry curled his lip in a sneer of contempt. Feng shui and fortune-telling, anyone who's completed 9 years of compulsory education wouldn't believe such nonsense. Those silly books should be gathered up and burned to stop them from harming society. You too can go deceive uneducated rural aunties and uncles, but no one here will believe you. Seeing that I was about to explode, Kira quickly grabbed my hand. "Lynn, calm down. He's pathetic enough, just let him talk a bit." Sensing the escalating tension, the director was so excited his nostrils flared. He immediately directed all cameras toward Henry and me, his face beaming with anticipation. The MC, receiving the signal, quickly handed the microphone to Kira. "Who are you calling pathetic?" Mr. Han here was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. His starting line is a finish line ordinary people can't reach in a lifetime. "Where is the pathetic part?" Henry chuckled dismissively. "You still believe them, they just want attention." Kira ignored him, continuing to soothe my burning anger. "He's only 28, but he's already lost 2 wives and 3 children. A fate of losing wives and children, his destiny is too heavy. Forget it, we shouldn't bother with such a pitiable person." All eyes and camera lenses turned to Henry. Henry was so angry he laughed, pointing at himself. "Excuse me, are you talking about me? I've never been married and I don't have any children. All the entertainment news outlets know this. There's a limit to how much you can make up." I stopped struggling, and Kira's expression shifted from indignation to pity. "You still don't know? Tusk, how truly tragic." Looking at Henry's face, an arrogant and conceited man like him wouldn't lie. It seemed he genuinely didn't know about his 2 deceased wives and 3 children. I nodded along. Not only tragic, but also foolish. Henry was so furious he jumped to his feet. "Only 10 minutes have passed, and 3 people have already threatened to sue me." I smugly tilted my chin towards Kira. With the situation like this, the director will surely kick us out immediately. But to my surprise, instead of being kicked out, we were given special treatment. Other female guests could only choose one person to date, but we were different. We had to date all 3 male guests, one after another. Seeing me frown, Kira earnestly advised, "These 3 awful men, can you really bear to let other girls be deceived? Men who choose the wrong career can change, but women who marry the wrong man are ruined for life. We're not earning money, we're saving innocent girls from a sea of suffering." It made sense. Since we were already tricked into coming, we might as well embrace it cheerfully. The show had 3 live stream rooms, each for a male guest. Female guests who weren't on dates sat in a common room, watching the dates on a large screen. Everyone was highly focused, some even taking notes. Of the 3 rooms, Ethan's live stream had the fewest viewers, only 3 girls. Marcus's room had a few more, with 5 people, while over 20 girls crowded into Henry's room. The appeal of a rich and handsome man was truly overwhelming. Kira and I were scheduled for the next group. After Ethan finished his date with the current female guest, we would be up. The girl currently dating Ethan was Hannah, an introverted young lady from a wealthy family. Her looks weren't striking, but her features were delicate and her figure slender. She wore a white dress, her legs so thin they looked like 2 bean sprouts. Hannah participated in the show because her friends pressured her. It was clear she had a soft spot for Ethan, a gentle and thoughtful person. At first, she was reserved, but then she started to laugh and talk happily. Their task was to cook together. Ethan only told her to wash vegetables and clear dishes, while he quickly prepared 3 savory dishes and a soup. Although he wasn't a good person, his cooking skills were indeed impressive, full of color and flavor. Hannah took 2 bites, her eyes lighting up. Kira pinched my arm. "Oh no, she's about to fall in love." Hannah clearly had no dating experience, utterly naive. How could a girl like her resist the tricks of a seasoned playboy like Ethan? At the end of the date, she seemed reluctant to leave. Ethan also gave her a very high score. Out of 100, he gave her 90 points, reserving 10 points for their next meeting. "I hope you can completely open your heart to me then." Hannah blushed, shyly nodding. What a karma. When it was our turn, Ethan's attitude immediately changed. Our task was to bake together. He maintained a cold expression, busying himself with work, not saying a word to us. He didn't speak, and we didn't bother to open our mouths either. The atmosphere became extremely awkward. Suddenly, a sharp voice rang out. "Lynn, how dare you go on a blind date behind my back?" Sophia appeared in a black suit and high heels with a powerful aura like a queen of industry. When I came to help Kira, Sophia was at a business party with her family. She must have seen me on TV and immediately rushed over. Ethan, sitting in a chair, resting, casually glanced at Sophia, but in an instant his eyes became serious. He sat up straight, his gaze sweeping over Sophia's wrist and necklace. After a careful look, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. Oh, the watch on Sophia's wrist was worth over 8 million yuan. Her necklace was also a luxury item, enough to buy 2 houses. Ethan abruptly stood up, forcing what he considered a charming smile. Hello, I'm Ethan. May I know your name, beautiful lady? Sophia responded with an indifferent smile. I'm Sophia, one of the investors in this program. Hearing the words, investor, Ethan's eyes lit up. Kira and I exchanged glances, understanding immediately. It seemed he intended to switch his target to Sophia. This guy, with all his gambling debts, must have come to this show to find a rich young lady to save him. After greeting us, Sophia sat to the side, enjoying the show. Ethan's attitude immediately shifted, becoming warm and enthusiastic. Every word he spoke subtly probed Sophia's background. Miss Sophia, what industry does your family operate in? I recall the show already had investors before filming. Why the change to you now? I smiled mysteriously. Her surname is Song, asterisk cough, cough asterisk, as in the Song family clan. Ethan's eyes widened and he stammered, Song. Half City Song, the Song family? This city was originally the Song family's stronghold. Most of the shopping malls, office buildings, and famous commercial streets were owned by them. Hence, the Song family was also nicknamed Half City Song, the Songs who controlled half the city. Ethan unconsciously clenched his fist, then immediately forced a fawning smile at me. Lynn, I'll go prepare the barbecue, okay? Do you prefer it rare or well done? Look, even his way of addressing me changed. He certainly knew how to seize an opportunity. Kira and I ate barbecue while cleverly extracting information from him. This guy was very cunning, answering meticulously, revealing no loopholes. At the end of the show, everyone praised him as a thoughtful, gentle, and polite person, a rare good man. Hannah stood by, her eyes full of disappointment. Seeing this, Ethan walked over, and with just a few words, he made her laugh. It seemed he wanted to play both sides, pursuing Sophia while also being reluctant to let go of Hannah. Always ready to advance or retreat, cover all bases. I scratched my head, feeling a bit annoyed. This guy was too devious. Exposing his true colors right in front of the cameras wouldn't be easy. The next filming session was with Marcus. Unlike Ethan, he was extremely cold towards us. Even knowing Sophia was an investor, his attitude didn't change at all. He was polite but distant, dating us only to fulfill his task. All his enthusiasm was reserved for the next female guest, Natalie, 24 years old, an online influencer with a hot figure and an alluring face. From the moment she appeared, Marcus's eyes never left her. And Natalie was also very pleased with him. She kept calling him Brother Marcus in a sickly sweet voice, making the corners of his mouth almost split to his ears. It seemed he, like Ethan, had already identified his target. Henry, however, seemed to have no interest in anyone. He sat cross-legged, leisurely basking in the sun in the garden. Seeing us approach, he merely gave a faint nod, then quickly looked away. His attitude was identical to how he treated the other female guests. I stared at his face for a long time without saying anything. Henry grew uncomfortable under my gaze and finally spoke first. Tell me, what do you want? I want to see your ancestors' grave. Henry's expression immediately became a sight to behold. This was the most ridiculous pickup line I had ever heard. Henry's features were very strange. Although his face was handsome, his nose bridge was too narrow and his wealth palace was not full. For such a person, wealth fortune would be average, at most tens of millions of yuan, yet the Han family possessed billions. He was the only son, naturally the sole heir. First fate, second luck, third feng shui. It seemed his ancestor's grave was not in an ordinary location. Don't refuse so quickly. You've loved many people, but only 2 relationships were deeply etched in your heart, and both of them met with unfortunate accidents. They either went missing or passed away, didn't they? Henry's eyes suddenly sharpened. You investigated me. I shook my head. I'm not interested in being a gossip reporter. Believe it or not, but all the answers can be found in your ancestor's grave. Don't you want to know if their disappearances were accidents or if someone was behind them? Crash, Henry abruptly stood up, knocking over the small coffee table. Coffee splattered onto his pants, but he paid no attention. Lynn, if you dare to trick me, I will make you pay dearly, understand? I rolled my eyes. If I trick you, I'll kneel and pour tea to apologize right in front of the camera. But if I don't trick you, you... Before I could finish, Henry gritted his teeth and spat out 2 words. Deal. Henry was a native, originally from a small village on the city's outskirts. The Han lineage in the village had a proper genealogy. His ancestors were originally buried on the mountain north of the village, but when he was 10, his grandmother passed away, and the family took her to be interred in a distant mountain area in another province. You mean your paternal grandparents aren't buried together? Henry nodded, a hint of sadness on his handsome face. My grandfather passed away when I was 6. At that time, my parents followed village custom, choosing a spot on the mountain behind the village for his burial. My grandparents loved each other very much. I never thought they wouldn't be able to rest together after death. My father was very insistent on this matter. Every time I mentioned joint burial for my grandparents, he would scold me. Do you want to go see the ancestral grave in my hometown or in that other province? When I said I would bring the entire film crew to the mountain region in another province, the director was speechless. He looked at me incredulously. Do you think this show belongs to your family? The whole crew traveling to another province? Do you know how much plane tickets alone would cost? Sophia waved her hand. Double the investment. The director's attitude immediately changed, smiling broadly. Miss Sophia, wherever you want to go, we'll go. Be it Egypt or Africa, just say the word. The director decided, and no one dared to object. But when the mode of transport changed from planes to cars, and then from cars to tractors, the whole crew began to grumble. No one dared to blame Sophia, only directing their anger at Kira and me. Especially Kira, who wore a windbreaker bought from a cheap online store, its fake logo so obvious it was hard to look at. The tractor could only go as far as the foot of the mountain. The remaining distance, everyone had to climb on their own. It had just rained for several days, and the mountain path was muddy and slippery. Stepping into it meant sinking deep and struggling to pull your feet out. Many female guests, wanting to look good, still wore high heels. Natalie, dressed in a silk cheongsam, her lips pale from the cold, shivered all over. Her expensive high heels were caked in mud, their original color indistinguishable. Her pink cheongsam was also splattered with mud from the waist down. Ah! Natalie stepped on a rock, slipped, and fell flat on the ground. By the time she scrambled back up, she was as dirty as a mud statue. The anger that had accumulated for so long finally erupted. Kira, are you crazy? You couldn't get into the Han family's door, so now you want to go to their ancestral grave? If you're crazy, suffer it yourself, don't drag us along. With that, she rushed forward and shoved Kira hard, making her stumble and almost fall. Kira was the earliest participant in the show, dressed simply, looking no different from a poor student with no background. My clothes, however, were all prepared by Sophia. She disliked my old outfits, threw them all out, and bought me new ones. So, looking around, Kira seemed like the easiest target for bullying. Unprovoked, Kira was so enraged her nose almost twisted. You idiot, did someone kick your head? Natalie was about to continue her rant, but Sophia coldly stepped forward. If you don't want to film anymore, then get out. Because Sophia generously doubled the investment, the guests' fees also doubled. Natalie glared resentfully at Kira, but in the end, Marcus pulled her away. I looked up at the gloomy sky, a strange feeling rising in my heart. The distant mountain ranges were endless. The western peak was towering, the two sides slightly lower, and the eastern peak dipped sharply, as if someone had sliced it across with a knife. Strange, why did this place look so familiar? But I had never been here before. The more I looked, the more it seemed wrong. I pulled Kira, who was muttering curses beside me. Stop cursing, look at this place. Kira was a descendant of the Imperial Observatory, best at feng shui and stargazing. She squinted, looking around, her brows furrowing more and more. This place is too familiar. What kind of terrain is this? Strange, I should know it. The name is almost on the tip of my tongue, but I just can't remember. She patted her forehead, immediately drawing ridicule. HMPH, more superstitious nonsense. Natalie seemed to have a vendetta against Kira, constantly attacking her. Even though the filming location had moved from a big city to a small mountain village, the fees had doubled. I didn't understand why she harbored such animosity towards Kira. Kira flared up, immediately rolling up her sleeves, ready to argue, completely forgetting about feng shui. The director, with a headache, interjected to mediate. Stop bickering. It's cold and damp here, the wind cuts to the bone. Hurry up the mountain to soak in hot springs and change into clean clothes. Kira fumed all the way, dragging Sophia and me along, complaining continuously. Normally, she was very generous and didn't hold grudges over petty arguments. I lowered my head and looked at the muddy road, a sense of discomfort also rising in my heart. The weather today was truly awful. From the foot of the mountain to the peak, it looked short but felt endlessly long. Cold and hungry, an inexplicable drowsiness also crept in. I took heavy steps on the muddy path, feeling like I could fall asleep at any moment. Damn it, Sophia stepped into a puddle of mud, her hiking boots submerged in yellow mud and water. Annoyed, she pulled her foot out and kicked a nearby tree with force. What the hell kind of road is this? Why are we still not done after 2 hours? The moment she finished speaking, Kira and I simultaneously looked up and shouted, "Damn it, we've been led astray by ghosts." Even Sophia was dumbfounded. Had none of us realized there was a problem after wandering for 2 hours? My heart turned cold, and Kira's face also became extremely unsightly. Because of the Han family ancestral grave, we had prepared all our spiritual tools and charms, leaving nothing out. All 3 of us wore cinnabar bracelets to ward off evil and peace talismans on our chests. Yet something was still able to create an illusion right before our eyes. I didn't feel even a trace of yin energy. "Everyone stop, don't go any further." I stood in the middle of the path, signaling everyone to halt. The director immediately frowned. "Lin, what new trick are you trying to pull now? It's past 4 p.m., it gets dark quickly on the mountain. If we don't hurry, how will we reach the village before nightfall?" Hearing the director, others also started to murmur. "Yeah, we still have to carry the cameras too. We're exhausted. My shoes are soaked, my feet are as cold as if they've been in an ice cellar. Can we keep going?" "Silence, everyone!" Sophia roared, and the entire group instantly fell silent. The way to check if one was being led astray by ghosts was very simple. Usually, this phenomenon was caused by wandering souls and wild ghosts. They created illusions that enchanted people, making them circle around in the same area. Ghosts were yin entities, and an area led by ghosts would naturally be filled with yin energy. I took out an incense burner and lit a special type of incense. Seeing me burn incense in the middle of the road, everyone's expressions became strange. The director hesitated, his lips moving several times, but under Sophia's murderous gaze, he bowed his head, pretending not to see anything. Since the director didn't speak, no one else dared to utter a sound. 3 thin wisps of gray smoke slowly rose amidst the drizzling rain. This was ghost-attracting incense, mixed with rhino horn, a nourishing substance for ghosts. Normally, if there were ghosts here, they wouldn't be able to resist appearing. But the 3 wisps of gray smoke hovered in the rain, their scent lingering in the air then dissipating. No ghosts appeared. Kira was stunned. "It's not ghosts leading us astray." Henry, having lost all patience with our antics, stepped forward and kicked over the incense burner I had placed in the road. "Damn it, are you too crazy? I've put up with you for long enough. I'm not filming this rotten show anymore. Who needs those paltry appearance fees?" I gritted my teeth, suppressing my anger, and bent down to pick up the incense burner. "All right, then go." Sophia looked at him as if he were an idiot. "If you want to leave, then leave quickly." Henry, though not as rich as Sophia, was still the young master of a financial magnate family and had never endured such contempt. He immediately waved his hand, walked past me, and strode down the mountain. The director panicked, quickly pulling him back. "It's getting dark, and the tractor that brought us up must have left long ago. It's very dangerous to go down the mountain alone in the deep forest like this. What if you encounter wild animals? Listen to me, even if you're not filming anymore, you should go up the mountain first. We'll figure it out tomorrow." After much pleading, he finally persuaded Henry to stay. Seeing Henry's still annoyed face, Kira casually spoke up. "Didn't you want to leave? Why aren't you going anymore?" Sophia also pouted, giving a faint smile. "Tusk, a man who claims to know karate and fencing is afraid of the dark." Slap. Henry's face flushed crimson, instantly turning liver-colored. "If I go, I go. Anyone who doesn't is a coward." Young Master Han. The director couldn't hold him back and turned to Sophia, sighing. "Miss Sophia, why did you provoke him?" Henry, fuming, stormed down the mountain like a puffed-up pufferfish, unstoppable. Sophia crossed her arms and commanded, "Everyone, stay put and rest." It was still drizzling, and the surroundings were desolate with no shelter. No one in the crew had tents, only a few female guests had brought parasols. The plump director was on the verge of tears, looking at Sophia helplessly, not daring to be angry or object. Among everyone, Natalie was the most hot-tempered. After her fall, her mud-caked cheongsam clung uncomfortably to her body. Hearing Sophia say they weren't going any further, her eyes darkened. She no longer cared about the investor's status. "Miss Sophia, aren't you being a bit too reckless? Even if you have money, you can't trifle with everyone's health, can you? In this wilderness, there's no doctor, no medicine. What if someone catches a cold and develops a high fever?" It wasn't just Natalie, I also felt a headache coming on. Explain? They would say we were superstitious, feudal, and fraudsters. Not explain. We would be seen as arrogant and disrespectful. In such terrible weather, people easily lost patience. Sophia was not a good-tempered person. She didn't let Natalie finish her sentence before roaring, "Anyone else have an opinion? If you do, then get out, I'll still pay you in full." Natalie's eyes turned red with anger, and she bit her lip, packing her belongings. As soon as she left, Marcus immediately followed. The director was desperate, almost kneeling before Sophia. "Miss Sophia, all the main characters are leaving. How can we still film the show?" As Natalie and Marcus left, others also started to waver. In the quiet mountain forest, arguments suddenly erupted loudly. Some wanted to leave, others tried to dissuade them. Some angrily cursed, while others cried from humiliation. In the midst of the chaos, Sophia's clear, piercing laughter rang out. "Oh, little puppy, you're back?" In everyone's astonished gaze, Henry was as pale as a sheet of paper, his lips trembling for a long time before he could utter a sentence. I went down the mountain, but how did I come back here?" Natalie was furious. She shoved Marcus's hand away, stormed over to Henry, and yelled, "All right, you rich people think we're all idiots playing it so real? This isn't a dating show, it's a prank, isn't it? If you want to act by yourselves. I'm not free to play with you in the rain anymore." Henry's expression was priceless. He opened his mouth, wanting to explain that he wasn't pretending, but even he found the situation too absurd. Natalie didn't believe him, just as he once hadn't believed us. Karma came so quickly. She slapped Marcus's hand away, wiped the rainwater from her face, and angrily walked down the mountain. Half an hour later, the familiar scene repeated itself. It was the first time in my life I had seen someone with such a diverse range of expressions: surprise, confusion, bewilderment, fear, shame, anger. Though hot-tempered, Natalie was very frank and open. She was the most popular female guest on the show. Seeing her return, everyone surrounded her, asking anxiously, "It's good you came back. It's dangerous to go down the mountain alone." "Exactly, just stay and rest. It's still raining." Comforted by everyone, Natalie's pale face gradually flushed red. She bit her lip and stomped her foot as if about to explode. "I didn't come back on my own. Henry and I both went down the mountain, but we kept walking and walking, and then we saw everyone in front of us again. This place is truly too sinister. We can't get out." Everyone was stunned. While they were busy with their dramatic exits, Kira and I weren't idle. She went into the forest to look for clues, while I turned over every rock along the roadside, and finally I actually found something. Kira stared at the pile of objects on the ground, her eyes wide with shock. "The 5 poisons blinding formation?" Everyone surged forward. Before my eyes was a neat row of dried animal carcasses: frogs, centipedes, scorpions, venomous snakes, geckos. The female guests' faces turned pale. Natalie covered her mouth and dry heaved. Kira squatted down, picked up a dried frog, and brought it to her nose to sniff. Indeed, it smelled of cinnabar. The 5 poisons blinding formation is a formation from Kymandungia, said to have been created long ago by a goo poison master from the Miao ethnic group, who combined Kymandungia with goo poison techniques. Because this formation is so rare, I'd only read about it in books and never seen it with my own eyes. This formation uses 5 venomous animals as its formation eyes. Moreover, when they were alive, they were fed large amounts of cinnabar, which concealed the yin energy with yang energy. Those trapped in the formation would think they were being led astray by ghosts, but wouldn't detect any yin energy. Additionally, this formation stimulates all negative human emotions, causing dizziness and mental confusion. Most importantly, it can create illusions. What the eyes see is not reality, but what the formation master wants us to see. I rubbed my eyes, looking up. The gray mountain path was still before us. The formation hadn't been broken. Kira and I exchanged glances, and the atmosphere became stifling. Henry, seeing us sitting quietly with furrowed brows, walked over and squatted beside us. "You two discovered something earlier, didn't you? What happened just now, I was wrong, I apologize." I was a little surprised. I didn't expect such an arrogant man to humble himself and admit fault. Kira's impression of him also changed. She couldn't help but explain. "Someone has set up a formation here. To get out, we have to break it." Henry blinked, about to say something, but swallowed half of it. "You mean, like the formations in movies and novels?" Everyone's expressions became very unique, but no one objected. Henry bowed his head and sighed deeply. "Whether it's ghosts leading us astray or a formation, as long as we can get out of this damn place, I'll believe whatever you say." He said that, but it was clear he still didn't truly believe. I didn't bother to argue with him. There would be plenty of opportunities for him to learn for himself. 5 Poisons Blinding formation uses 5 venomous creatures to represent the 5 elements, mutually generating and overcoming each other, forming a self-balancing cycle of yin and yang. There are 2 ways to break the formation. The first is to find the formation eyes and destroy them one by one. The second is to use powerful external force to break the formation. Although the 5 Poisons Blinding formation can temporarily maintain yin-yang balance, it is fundamentally a sinister formation. The best way to break this formation is to use heavenly lightning. Kira and I began to set up an altar to summon lightning. The others, having nothing else to do, gathered to watch us work. Sophia frowned, standing under a tree. Everyone, move to the middle of the road and put away your umbrellas. There will be lightning soon. Standing under trees makes you susceptible to being struck. Natalie didn't understand and looked annoyed, but Sophia's aura was too strong. No one dared to object. Everyone reluctantly moved to the middle of the road, enduring the rain with us. Natalie, don't be angry anymore. Marcus bent down to coax Natalie, his eyes stealthily glancing at her chest. After filming, I'll take you on a trip to France. Natalie was a little touched, her voice so soft it seemed to drip with sweetness. Brother Marcus, why are you so good to me? Marcus looked at her with ardent, affectionate eyes. Because you're so good. I've never met a girl as pure, kind, and beautiful as you. Sophia stood to the side with her arms crossed, giving a cold laugh. You scumbag, you liar, do you dare to swear an oath? Interrupted so unexpectedly, Marcus was slightly annoyed, but Natalie was staring at him, so he reluctantly raised his hand, his voice carrying a hint of defiance. All right, I swear if what I just said is false. Sophia interjected again, then may you be struck by lightning? Marcus was used to lying and didn't care at all. He raised his hand, his flirtatious eyes filled with affection. If I just lied, then may I be struck by lightning. Crack, boom! Heavenly thunder roared, striking down from the sky, and the ground shook violently. Marcus's legs buckled, and he collapsed to the ground, unable to get up for a long time. Ha 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 ha, Sophia clutched her stomach, laughing hysterically. As she laughed, she ran over to me and Kira to gossip. Ha 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 ha, I'm telling you, this Marcus guy, ha 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 ha. We pretended not to hear her. After 9 bolts of lightning struck, the dark clouds dispersed, and the rain in the forest stopped completely. The entire forest revealed its true appearance. Kira looked up, astonished at the distant mountain range. The green dragon of the east was suppressed, while the white tiger of the west held sway. The 4 sides sank, and malevolent energy flowed in from all directions, extremely inauspicious. This is the legendary white tiger holding corpse earth. Others didn't care about green dragons or white tigers. Seeing the rain stop, they joyfully hurried to pack their belongings. Henry let out a sigh of relief. I'm so tired. Let's go quickly. I wonder if there's a supermarket in the village. I'm starving to death. Noticing Kira's and my troubled expressions, he found it a bit strange. What's wrong with you two? Kira looked at him as if he were an idiot. When was the last time you came back here to worship your ancestors? Henry scratched his head. About 5 or 6 years ago. My father once invited a master who said my age clashed with my grandmother's, and I could only return in special years. He's very superstitious, and I'm too lazy to pay attention. I couldn't help but feel a little pity. In the past 10 years, you've returned here twice, and both times your girlfriends encountered misfortunes. The white tiger holding corpse earth is a highly inauspicious place. If ordinary people choose this place for their family grave, their family will surely decline and become impoverished. However, according to the laws of nature, extreme yang gives rise to extreme yin. Profound malevolence can turn into great fortune. If a special method is used for burial, it can transform misfortune into blessings, turning this place into a blessed land. It's just that the burial method is extremely cruel. To turn the malevolent energy of the white tiger holding corpse earth into auspicious energy, one must bury a living person alive. The resentment and murderous aura of the person, stimulating the malevolent energy to its peak, is how it can transform misfortune into blessings. And after the person is buried alive, all the malevolent energy of the white tiger holding corpse earth will pour into their body, turning them into a sinister corpse. A Yin Corpse. A Yin Corpse devours 3 generations. To have the Yin Corpse bless its descendants, it must be offered the flesh and blood of direct descendants. Kira opened her mouth to speak, then thought better of it, turning to look at Henry, who was much happier after the sky cleared. Is your mother still healthy? Henry was confused, but still answered honestly. My mother has never been well since I was little. She's always been in a nursing home. I only see her a few times a year. Henry was an only child, so the person used to sacrifice to the Yin Corpse would either be his siblings or his children. His mother living in a nursing home for many years was probably related to this matter. Quite tragic. The three of us looked at Henry with eyes full of pity. Sophia even patted his shoulder with understanding. You've suffered enough, let it go, let it go. Henry was completely bewildered, understanding nothing. As we walked and talked, we rounded a bend and the village gate was right before our eyes. Everyone's spirits lifted. At the village entrance was a large bronze statue. The statue was carved into a fierce tiger descending the mountain, and below its base were 3 large characters, Western Autumn Village. The moment Kira saw the bronze statue, her expression suddenly turned grim. I stopped, tightly grabbing Henry, who was eager to enter the village. Don't rush in, everyone stop. Natalie was furious, almost crying. Even Hannah, the gentlest among them, stepped forward, expressing dissatisfaction. Lynn, stop playing tricks. Everyone is really tired. Henry, however, after all that had happened, was no longer as skeptical as they were. He stopped, looking at me patiently. Everyone calm down. If Lynn says not to go in, there must be a reason. I considered how to explain it simply and quickly. This statue is a tiger descending the mountain. The power of a tiger descending the mountain is far greater than one ascending. An ascending tiger has eaten its fill, but a descending tiger is hungry and seeks prey. The white tiger holding corpse earth, combined with this tiger statue, amplifies the malevolent energy tenfold. The Yin Corpse buried in the village not only devours 3 generations of the Han family, but also devours this entire village. The more it devours, the more prosperous the Han family becomes. If I'm not mistaken, there's no one left alive in this village. No one spoke. Henry swallowed hard, his eyes a little vacant. Lynn, do you know what you're saying? You're saying the whole village is dead? Impossible. My father still came here for ancestor worship in July this year. Most people only believe what they see with their own eyes. I gave a cold laugh. Ancestor worship is usually in January or on Kingaming Festival. July is also called Ghost Month, when yin energy is extremely heavy. Boats don't go out to sea, people don't travel at night. Your father is so traditional, why would he choose July for ancestor worship? Henry was stunned. Oh my God, I've got goosebumps. The plump director rubbed his arms, his face contorted as he looked at me. So, we're going down the mountain? The Yin Corpse's resentment was too strong. If left unchecked, it would devour not just a village but an entire town. Of course, we couldn't leave, but the film crew was innocent. If we let them follow us into the village, they might encounter disaster. We'd temporarily set aside exposing the true faces of those scumbags. I signaled to Sophia. She nodded, understanding. Everyone, let's go back and continue filming in the city. The moment these words left her mouth, a surge of resentment immediately erupted. Natalie completely collapsed. Sister, look, it's already pitch black. You know how difficult the mountain road is. What if we encounter wild animals on the way back? Whoever wants to go, go. I'm not going anywhere. With that, she plopped down, leaning against the white tiger statue. The director, sweating profusely, pulled Sophia and me aside to discuss. There must be empty houses in the village. Even if it's dangerous, it's easier to protect each other if we stay together. I promise I'll manage everyone well, okay? Henry also spoke up. Everyone can stay at my house. My house is big enough. The cold wind howled, rustling through the mountain forest. At night, the mountains were like giant beasts lurking in the darkness. It was no wonder Natalie and the others dared not descend the mountain. They had all grown up in the city. How could they have the courage to wander deep in the forest at night? Not to mention, about 70% of the film crew were women, with only a few male staff members. I couldn't help but regret not investigating thoroughly before bringing the entire crew here. Now we just had to adapt to the situation. Going into the village was fine, but they had to follow the rules. First, everyone must sleep together in the living room. No one was allowed to sleep alone. Second, at least 3 people must go to the bathroom together. Third, once inside the house, no one was allowed to step outside. The moment I finished speaking, someone immediately objected. We came here to film a show, not to go to prison. Exactly, we can't even go to the bathroom freely? 3 women were fine, but 30 women talking at once was like a marketplace. I felt my head about to explode. Silence, everyone. This place is much more dangerous than you think. If you don't want to stay, then get off the mountain immediately." Seeing my anger, everyone could only grumble and drag their luggage behind me. Tonight was a full moon. Even without streetlights, we could still see the village. Among the old tile-roofed houses, a 3-story villa stood out. The entire village was eerily silent. There was no crowing of chickens, no barking of dogs, not even the chirping of insects. Everyone held their breath, no one daring to speak. Henry pointed to the villa, confused. "My house has a caretaker, right? It's only 7 p.m. Why aren't any lights on?" The atmosphere in the village was too eerie. Even Natalie, who talked the most, held her breath and clung tightly to Marcus, as if wanting to hide in his arms. The entire crew held their breath, tiptoeing towards the villa, all showing signs of fear. "Everyone wait at the door, I'll go in and check first." The gate wasn't locked. A gentle push opened it. Everyone held hands, crowding into the courtyard. No one dared to stay outside alone. "Uncle Zhang, are you here?" Henry's voice suddenly rang out, startling me. I glared at him, then took a flashlight from my pocket. Henry didn't want to stay outside with everyone, so I told Kira and Sophia to stay and watch while I led him inside. The villa was very large. The garden alone was about 500–600 square meters. The interior was decorated entirely in a classical Chinese style. The red rosewood tables and chairs looked somewhat eerie under the pale white light of the flashlight. The first floor had a living room, study, kitchen, and maid's quarters. The second and third floors were all bedrooms, 3 rooms on each floor, plus a small shared living room. Uncle Zhang usually lived in the maid's room on the first floor. Henry was a little scared, his voice trembling as he explained, "Let's check Uncle Zhang's room first. If we have to sleep here overnight, we must check for all dangers." I gently wiped the wooden handrail of a chair. A thin layer of dust clung to my fingertip. It seemed no one had lived in this house for a long time. Henry pursed his lips, much more vigilant now. We used the flashlight to check each room. Finally, in the west bedroom on the 3rd floor, we found Uncle Zhang. He had been dead for at least 3 months. His body, completely undecomposed, lay supine on the floor, eyes wide open, mouth agape, as if he had seen something incredibly terrifying before death. There was a large hole in his chest, and his internal organs were completely gone. "Ugh!" Henry's face turned pale. He squatted down and vomited violently, tears and snot streaming down his face, utterly pathetic. When everyone heard that someone had died in the house, their faces turned very grim. Natalie hugged Marcus tightly, her face white. There's a dead person in this house, and you're making us stay overnight?" I sighed helplessly. "Didn't you say it yourself? It's so cold, if you don't stay indoors, you'll freeze to death." Actually, Natalie had just said that casually. Her clothes were still wet. If she didn't go inside to warm up and drink some hot water, she would definitely get sick. Henry's house was very spacious. The living room alone was large enough for the entire group of over 40 people to sleep. Although no one lived there, clothes, blankets, and pillows were still present, except that the electricity in the house wasn't working. After a quick cleanup, everyone huddled in the living room, eyes drooping with sleepiness. Henry didn't sleep. He sat absently on the sofa. Sophia guarded the door, and Kira went to check the situation in the village. I sat down next to Henry, intending to comfort him but didn't know how to start. "Lynn, can you come with me to my grandmother's grave tomorrow morning? My grandmother was very kind. I don't believe she would harm anyone after death." Finally finding a topic, I patted his shoulder to reassure him. "You don't need to go look for your grandmother. She'll come to you tonight. To a Yin Corpse, nothing is more attractive than the flesh and blood of a direct descendant. Ever since we came up the mountain, your grandmother must have smelled it. She will definitely appear by midnight." Henry's face turned from white to green. He froze for a long time, then pulled the blanket tightly over himself. "Well, suddenly I don't miss my grandmother that much anymore." Faint snoring echoed in the living room. Everyone was tired all day, and even lying on the floor didn't affect their sleep. I was also uncontrollably sleepy, half asleep when Kira nudged me awake. She frowned tightly, her expression heavy. "Everyone in the village is dead, and not a single livestock or poultry animal survived. Yin corpses usually don't eat livestock unless they're not being offered enough sacrifices. If I'm not mistaken, Henry's father found something unusual the last time he came here for ancestor worship. But direct descendants aren't as common as vegetables in the market. Henry hasn't dated for many years and has no children. His father is also old now. Even if he wanted to create more descendants, he probably couldn't. You get some sleep. It seems tonight will be a fierce battle. Kira nodded. Just as she was about to lie down, Henry's side suddenly erupted with a loud shout. Listen, listen! It turned out Henry couldn't sleep, tossing and turning, so he called his father. He called and then accidentally put it on speakerphone. Dad, do you know something? Tell me quickly. Henry's father's voice blared from the speaker, filled with anger and panic. Son, if you want to live, run immediately, run as far as you can. I beg you, I only have you as a son. The entire living room immediately woke up. No one dared to utter a word, but everyone's ears perked up. Kira and I exchanged glances, simultaneously inching closer to Henry. Henry clutched his phone tightly, his voice almost hissing through clenched teeth. Dad, what do you mean? You said you only have one son left, so how many children do you have? Oh, who doesn't love hearing secrets from a wealthy family? Henry's father was silent for a long time, finally uttering the truth. It turned out his family had once been very poor. Henry's father had been looked down upon and oppressed since childhood, so he was determined to rise up at all costs. As a country bumpkin with no education, no capital, and no connections, let alone getting rich, even finding food was difficult. After working odd jobs, he collected scraps to earn a little extra money. One day, he picked up an old, yellowed book. The book recorded secret feng shui techniques to change one's fate. Among them, what struck him most was burying a living person. As long as one found a highly inauspicious land and buried a relative alive, the more resentment the buried person held before death, the more prosperous the descendants would become. Henry's father at the time only saw it as fantasy and paid it no mind. Later, he got married and had children, but life remained as hard as ever. Henry's grandfather fell ill, but the family had no money for treatment and could only watch him die in agony. Then it was his turn to fall ill. One day after work, he discovered he was urinating blood. When he went to the doctor, he was told he had kidney failure. If he didn't get treatment soon, he wouldn't live much longer. Holding the medical report in his hand, he gritted his teeth until his lips bled. He was only 27 at the time, having been poor his whole life, never having had a proper family meal. How could he resign himself to dying like that? Therefore, he heartlessly sought out the mountains in Guizhou, choosing that place to bury his own mother alive. After the burial, his family indeed prospered quickly. But 3 years later, his mother in the grave turned into a Yin Corpse, and the Yin Corpse needed to be sacrificed with the flesh and blood of a direct descendant every year. At that time, Henry was still young, so his father forced his wife to become pregnant. When his wife gave birth, he immediately took the child away, lying that it was a stillbirth. After 4 stillbirths, Henry's mother couldn't bear it anymore and suffered a mental breakdown. Henry's father locked her in a nursing home while continuously seeking out other women to have more children. Henry's 2 previous girlfriends who suddenly disappeared were both at his father's hands. As he got older, his health deteriorated, and it became harder for him to impregnate women. So he began to target his own son, Henry. The 2 girls who disappeared had both been pregnant, especially the second one, who was carrying twins. Henry's father had people kidnap them, waiting for them to give birth before offering all the children to the Yin Corpse without anyone knowing. After Henry was heartbroken by love and stopped dating, his father had to work hard himself. But perhaps he had committed too many sins. He had countless women, but the pregnancy rate kept decreasing. Last year, as usual, he offered a child as a sacrifice, but the Yin Corpse did not accept it, because it was not his biological child. He went to the doctor, who told him he had completely lost his fertility. At this point, he became terrified. He sought out a sorcerer who suggested erecting a tiger statue at the village entrance. The statue helped amplify the Yin Corpse's malevolent energy, making it devour not only direct descendants, but also anyone who entered the village. In other words, using the lives of innocent people to continue to prosper the Han family. At the same time, the sorcerer also set up a formation at the village entrance to prevent outsiders from accidentally entering and discovering the secret. Son, run now as far away as possible. Yin Corpse's fear fire. You're not alone, are you? Tell your teammates to wear red clothes. There might still be a chance to escape. Run, don't stay here tonight. Henry dropped the phone, but the entire room remained eerily silent. Damn, he's even more despicable than me, that beast. Ethan couldn't help but curse. This curse was like a spark igniting a barrel of oil. The entire room immediately erupted. The girls stopped pretending to sleep and simultaneously rushed towards us. They scrambled to grab our clothes, as if touching us would grant protection. Lynn, is Henry's story true? Oh my God, it's horrifying. I want to go home. Kira, you know magic, please save us. In the group, a girl wearing a red nightgown, reminded by a friend, screamed and frantically stripped off her dress on the spot. Her fair skin was instantly exposed, making several men unconsciously swallow. I was shoved until I was dizzy, my sleeve torn. Sophia wasn't much better, the stitches on her shirt bursting. But what surprised me most was Kira. She was the earliest participant in the show and closer to everyone. Logically, the girls would seek her for help, but strangely, her clothes were not ruffled at all. Kira, smug, crossed her arms and chuckled. I told you, foreign goods aren't durable. Look at mine, pin duo quality is impeccable. Knock, knock, knock. Amidst the group's commotion, a slow knock echoed. Each knock was heavy, as if pounding directly on everyone's hearts. The room suddenly fell silent. Natalie swallowed hard, her voice laced with a sob. It sounds like someone's knocking. Not just her, everyone heard it. In the suffocating silence, I turned to look at Henry. Your grandmother is here. Henry's face turned ashen, his lips trembling violently. What should we do? I glanced around. The girls huddled together, trembling like sardines in a can. Many were on the verge of fainting. No, Hannah had already fainted. She was pale, slumped unconscious in Ethan's arms. This group was useless, only getting in the way. Might as well lure the Yin Corpse out and deal with it. I waved to Henry. Come on, let's go meet your grandmother. Henry was very reluctant, but I still pulled him forward. To a Yin Corpse, he was a blazing fire in the dark night, shining as brightly as a star no matter where he hid. Kira and I were enough to deal with the Yin Corpse. According to the plan, Sophia would stay to watch over the group in the house. With both physical prowess and financial resources, Sophia had enough to intimidate them. We weren't afraid they wouldn't listen. The knocking became more urgent, from individual knocks to a rapid succession, sounding like a group of people pounding on the door at once. Wait a minute, a group of people? I froze, glancing at Kira. In the deep forest, how could there be so many people? Even ghosts wouldn't come in a whole mob. Henry was so scared his lips trembled violently, his legs also turned to jelly. Hearing the drumming knocks, he felt an even deeper chill in his heart and liver. Is my grandmother possessed by an octopus spirit? The Han family is wealthy. Even their mountain villa uses the best materials. The solid rosewood door was thick and sturdy. Despite the continuous pounding, it didn't budge. Crash. Oh no, something's hitting the glass. To enhance the aesthetic, the south side of the living room featured a large floor-to-ceiling window. The moon was bright tonight, allowing us to clearly see something outside shambling closer. Hannah was standing right in front of the window. The moment she turned around and saw the sight, her eyes widened, and she immediately fainted. Everyone else, who had previously stayed away from the door, now simultaneously rushed towards Kira and me. Ethan, who had just been taking advantage of Hannah by holding her, was the fastest to run. Thanks to the moonlight, I finally saw clearly what was outside. They were all innocent villagers who had died gruesome deaths. Some hanged, some fell to their deaths, some were bloated from drowning. Each had died differently, but the only commonality was their utterly terrifying appearance. An old man had a deep gash in the middle of his head, his skull split in half. One of his eyes stared at Hannah, the other at me. It was quite unsettling. The girls had never seen such a sight before. Half of them fainted, the other half shrieked piercingly, like a flock of chickens run over by a truck. The loudest screamer was the plump director. Crash! The sturdy wooden door let out a heavy sound. The door wasn't damaged, but the lock had been broken open. The door slowly creaked open, emitting a spine-chilling sound. A withered, gaunt shadow appeared right at the doorway. Those who were still conscious shrieked again, scrambling backward, as if afraid of touching the glass door. And so, they all huddled together, trembling like a flock of quails, hiding behind Kira and me. Henry tried to pluck up his courage to reassure everyone. Don't be afraid, that's bulletproof glass, it won't break easily. I grabbed his chin, turning his head towards the door. Is this your grandmother? Henry gasped, a cold shiver running down his spine. The Yin Corpse's face was no longer recognizable because she was standing upside down, her hands on the ground, her two withered legs pointing to the sky. She wore no clothes, her greenish-gray skin stretched over a gaunt skeleton, and her eyes and mouth were sewn shut, looking incredibly grotesque. The scene was inherently terrifying, yet I felt a pang of sorrow. Her eyes and mouth must have been sewn shut while she was still alive to prevent her from filing a complaint in the underworld after death. To rapidly acquire wealth in the white tiger holding corpse earth, the deceased had to be buried upside down and naked. The faster the flesh and blood made contact with the earth's energy, the quicker the descendants would prosper. Henry had once said that his grandmother was a very proper and clean old lady. Even though their family was poor, her clothes were always neat and tidy. Yet, at her death, she was stripped naked, buried upside down, without even a proper coffin. But this was no time for sentimentality. Sophia, take everyone to the second floor. Kira and I will guard the rear. The innocent villagers who had died gruesome deaths had all become low-level corpses. Though numerous, they moved slowly and weren't difficult to deal with. As long as we could block the stairs, we could protect everyone. Of course, Henry had to stay on the first floor to be bait. I shoved a bag of glutinous rice mixed with cinnabar into his hand. If your grandmother gets close, throw it directly at her. Lynn, attack. Kira shouted, but then immediately ducked behind the rosewood sofa. What a cunning fox. I gripped my peachwood sword tightly, leaping forward and charging directly at the Yin Corpse. Demon, face my sword. The Yin Corpse didn't dodge, standing still and taking a direct hit from my sword. The blade struck, emitting a metallic clang. Damn it! If I had used more force, this 1,000-year-old lightning-struck peachwood sword would have broken on the spot. A chill ran down my spine. At that moment, the Yin Corpse moved. Her two legs coiled, then lashed out at me like a storm. It was as if she knew the Foshan shadowless kick. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest by a container truck. My entire body was kicked 3 meters away, tumbling straight into Kira. She stared at me, eyes wide. Holy hell, this Yin Corpse grandmother is terrifying. I clutched my chest, coughing, feeling like I might have broken 2 ribs. Stop babbling, get up. I struggled to my feet, finally understanding why the peachwood sword was useless. She was buried in the white tiger holding corpse earth. The white tiger belonged to the metal element, which had accumulated in her for so many years. Metal overcomes wood, so my wooden sword naturally had no effect. No wonder Henry's father said she feared fire. Fire overcomes metal. Thinking of this, my eyes lit up, and I yelled at Kira, use an extreme yang lightning fire talisman. Kira darted around the Yin Corpse, yelling, your face looks more like a lightning fire talisman. Oh right, lightning fire talismans are extremely expensive. Just the first-grade cinnabar and lightning struck wood inside cost a fortune. The market price of one lightning fire talisman is at least 5 million. A pauper like Kira wouldn't throw such a talisman at a Yin Corpse even if she were beaten to death. So, she only tried throwing a handful of glutinous rice. Boom. Fire erupted on the Yin Corpse's skin, and a burning smell quickly spread. But the injury was negligible, only enough to infuriate her. Grrr, grrr. The Yin Corpse let out a low growl, immediately changing direction and crawling straight towards Kira. It hurts so much, I'm dying of pain. Kira was sent flying to the side, rolling around and screaming tragically. Henry stood rooted to the spot, his heart split in two, half worried about his grandmother being hit, half worried about his grandmother killing us. His face was at times green, then white, then flushed crimson. He didn't even notice an old female ghost patting his back. Henry, be careful. Sophia, with sharp eyes, threw a fire talisman, burning the female ghost on the spot. Kira clutched her chest, squealing like a pig being slaughtered. Sophia, are you crazy? A corpse as weak as a snail, and you're using a fire talisman as expensive as gold to kill it. I can't watch you waste anymore. Lynn, deal with the Yin Corpse. I'm going to clean up these living corpses. With a shout, she ran out the door, disappearing in an instant. The cunning fox now knew the Yin Corpse's weakness. Dealing with her was no longer difficult. I pulled out a lightning fire talisman from my pocket. The Yin Corpse seemed to recognize the talisman's terrifying power and immediately turned around, running straight up the stairs. The people on the second floor screamed in terror. Sophia guarded the stairs, one hand holding a talisman, the other holding a grenade. They were military-grade items she ordered from abroad. Besides explosives, they also contained first-grade cinnabar and 5-colored gems, all natural enemies of evil spirits and monsters. My heart suddenly felt a pang of sorrow. In terms of combat ability, Sophia was the weakest of the 3 of us. But with unlimited money, she could crush any power disparity. And right now, talismans were being thrown like loose change as if they were worthless. She stood alone on the stairs, blocking all the Yin Corpses. The Yin Corpse was forced back, then suddenly changed direction, charging straight towards me. Sophia surrounded it. I shouted, holding the talisman, and rushed forward. The Yin Corpse suddenly opened its mouth, spitting out a thick cloud of dark energy. If hit, even immortals couldn't save me. I dodged in time, gritting my teeth, lunged forward, and hugged her tightly, then shoved the lightning fire talisman directly into the Yin Corpse's mouth. Boom! A burst of fire erupted, almost scorching my hair. Leave it to me. Sophia jumped down from upstairs, clutching a grenade, and charged straight at the Yin Corpse. Holy hell! Crash, the entire house seemed to shake, black smoke billowed, stinging my eyes so badly I couldn't open them. The stench of burning flesh assaulted our noses. Wait a minute, I suddenly feel hungry. Grandma, Waya, Grandma, there's only a pile of ashes left. Henry, nearby, cried as if his heart was breaking. I ran outside to find Kira and discovered she had already dealt with the living corpses at the door. Only one female corpse remained, looking like she had drowned, her entire body bloated and pale. Her belly was swollen as if pregnant, surely filled with water. Kira winked at me. Come on, it's time to trick Marcus. Looking at Marcus's features, his high cheekbones and gaunt face indicated a strong tendency to harm his wife and extreme selfishness. Furthermore, his deep-set love palace showed strong desires and a lifelong promiscuous and flirtatious nature. According to his features, his ex-wife was much older than him, died young, and died by drowning. Kira's choice was spot on. We exchanged glances, then both screamed tragically and dashed towards the door. Kira clutched her chest, stumbling in, then collapsed and played dead. I limped in, my eyes wide, staring behind me, pretending to tremble with fear. The female corpse stretched out her hand and shambled towards me. Help me! The entire group almost shrieked aloud. Because just a moment ago I had defeated the Yin Corpse, and now I was being chased frantically by a female ghost. Sophia brandished her peachwood sword, intending to rush forward and kill the ghost. I shouted, grabbed her, and signaled with my eyes. The female ghost ignored us and went towards the stairs. Upstairs, another terrifying scream erupted. Ethan, Marcus, this female corpse is here for you too. She is a vengeful spirit you two killed. She's not from this village. Ethan, hiding behind the girls, heard my shout and gingerly poked his head out, his voice still trembling. I've never harmed anyone. I joined this show just to find a rich girl to help me pay off my debts. She can't be here for me. The moment he finished speaking, all the girls turned and glared at him, sparks flying. Hannah was stunned. You're really a gambler. How much debt do you have? As the female corpse came closer, her face became more ferocious and terrifying. Ethan panicked so much he no longer cared about his image. He shoved Marcus hard, veins bulging in his neck. I only owe a few $100 million, but I've never killed anyone. At most, I just angered my dad to death. Damn it, is it you? Your trading company's capital was originally your ex-wife's, and she was over 10 years older than you. Is this female ghost your ex-wife? Marcus's eyes widened in horror. He clutched Ethan's hand, his eyes darting around in fear. The others saw the scene and immediately understood. Natalie shrieked, rushing forward and punching Marcus in the face. You were married? You're a liar. You're married and you're still coming on a dating show, pretending to be single. The extreme fear finally tore off Marcus's facade. He shoved Natalie away and he himself stumbled and fell to the ground. Don't look for me, don't look for me. You committed suicide. What does that have to do with me? Marcus crawled backward, screaming like a madman. The others all moved away, coldly watching the female corpse close in step by step. As expected, we lured her out. I threw 2 grains of glutinous rice onto the female corpse's back. Hiss, sizzle. Her flesh was burned, and she threw her head back, letting out a long, piercing shriek. Marcus was so scared he almost wet his pants, tears streaming down his face. Yes, my parents didn't treat you well, and I did go out and find other women, but what man doesn't have other women outside? You were 10 years older than me, old and ugly. If I didn't take your money, what would I take? I took over your company and ran it successfully. Doesn't that count for anything? You bastard. I subtly changed my voice, pretending to speak from behind the female corpse. Marcus, I died so unjustly. 1 body, 2 lives, my poor child who never got to be born. Marcus was so scared he no longer cared about everyone's contemptuous gazes, he just wanted to run away quickly. But he was too panicked. His legs trembled until they were weak, struggling for a long time but only managing a few small steps. He couldn't escape. Marcus rolled his eyes and with a thud he fell to his knees, slapping himself repeatedly. Wife, I was wrong, but my mother forced me to make you pregnant. It wasn't my fault. I know how hard you tried to conceive, but you were too old. It's all my mother's fault. She said you liked spicy food, so you would definitely have a daughter. She was afraid the Lin family would die out, so she forced me to go out and find other women. Don't look for me, go find my mother instead. What a filial son. From his fragmented sobs, I pieced together the events. Marcus's ex-wife was 10 years older than him, an only child from a wealthy family, owning a company and real estate with excellent conditions. Her father died early, leaving only an old mother. Marcus clung to her until she agreed to marry him, but after marriage, he despised his older, unattractive wife, constantly seeking other women. He brought his parents to live with his wife in her villa, but his mother pressured her daughter-in-law to give birth to a son. The old mother-in-law, frail and weak, was so angry she was hospitalized and eventually passed away. His wife, having lost her mother and enduring her husband's blatant infidelity, was too heartbroken. Finally, in despair, she jumped into the river to commit suicide. Natalie clutched her chest, her heart still pounding. How awful! I almost fell in love with this scumbag. She turned and grabbed Hannah's hand. You too, you almost ended up paying off a gambler's debts. This world is truly terrifying. Not only do ghosts devour people, but humans also want to devour each other. I released the talisman, and the female corpse began to move again. Ah! Marcus screamed, rolling and crawling straight into the dark hallway. I calmly instructed, everyone, don't be afraid. This female ghost is only here for revenge. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Then I dragged a cabinet to block the stairs, sealing off the way upstairs. The female corpse moved slowly, like a low-level zombie in a movie. Looking at Marcus's features, his time to die hadn't come yet. No need to worry about him. I'm dead tired. Downstairs was a mess. Everyone did a quick cleanup, then collapsed in the living room and fell asleep. Upstairs, Marcus's screams echoed throughout the night. Until the east brightened, I opened my eyes and was startled. Henry squatted beside me, clutching a ceramic jar, staring at me, his eyes bloodshot, his stubbled beard making him look several years older after one night. Lin, my grandmother. Yesterday, the Yin Corpse was burned to ashes, and he had collected them all in this jar. I sighed. I'll help you choose a day for your grandparents' joint burial. But the white tiger holding corpse feng shui has been broken. Your family will surely suffer a backlash. Your father will undoubtedly die a terrible death. Henry gritted his teeth, his eye sockets red. He deserves to die. I didn't know how to comfort him, so I stood up and called everyone to prepare to leave. Everyone had a psychological shadow about this place. Although woken up early in the morning, no one complained, silently packing their belongings and leaving. The plump director counted the people, stammering as he looked at me. What about Marcus? I looked up at the sky. Kira looked down at the ground. Sophia casually pulled out her phone and set an alarm. Hello, what's wrong? Natalie forced an ingratiating smile, tugging on the director's shirt. Last night, I woke up to use the bathroom and saw someone going down the mountain. It must have been Marcus running away. Hannah also gritted her teeth and followed suit. Yes, I saw him too. The director let out a sigh of relief, no longer asking questions, and quickly followed the group out of the courtyard. Ah, a tragic scream echoed from upstairs again. The director was startled and looked up. Did everyone hear that? Sophia frowned, annoyed. Is it over yet? If you're worried, go check yourself. Lin, let's go. I threw my hands up in exasperation. The girls didn't need me to urge them. They immediately clung to Sophia, walking so fast they almost seemed to grow 2 more legs. Very quickly, only the plump director remained in front of the villa, lonely and cold. The early morning wind blew past, a slight chill in the air. After 3 seconds of hesitation, he gritted his teeth, stomped his foot, and turned to run after them. Miss Sophia, wait for me. I'm scared of ghosts. The sun rose from the distant mountain range. The morning air was fresh and clean. Taking a deep breath, I felt instantly refreshed. I walked down the mountain, the sunlight shining on my back, but my heart felt heavy. The Yin Corpse was dead, but I had a feeling that everything was just beginning.